Oh, I was just practicing the
Hey,
moves.
everybody. Welcome into Folklore and Flourish. Today is June 9th. Hey, everybody, it's June 9th. You're here with Jane and Mark over at Blue Box 29. Okay? Today, okay?
Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome in.
Here I was thinking that today would be more professional because I had to apologize to everyone yesterday. Because while I was trying to say goodbye, I believe it was yesterday, Molly decided to attack Roxy and they were screaming bloody murder.
On the show?
Yeah.
You left some of it in?
Yeah. And then I grabbed Molly and then I had to have her sit here to say goodbye to everybody. And she was just like,
Oh,
then I said we would be better next time, more professional.
it's like
I was talking about
she's...
you this time.
What?
Pull it together.
I'm trying. It's not been
Figure
twisting.
it out.
I haven't been twisting it while I've been sitting there work.
But anyways, today is the second day of our week 2, which is all about the ordeal. It's all about our hero and our quests. So it's our pathfinder reaching a new ordeal. Yesterday we started with a trial, which was kind of fun because our Snow White pilgrimage is all about trials.
Right, yeah.
And today we get arguably one of the most dangerous ordeals anyone could face, and it's the sea. So today's all about the sea and the vast unknowns. So we're going to look at this through Greek, Norse, Japanese, and West African story today. And then the lesson is that the depth swallows certainty. So the depth, whether it's how far away, the horizon is, the actual deep abyss of it. And in this too, we get to see different shades of the sea. So like some seas are like the wine dark sea, and then others are the light blue. Others are the gray waves where it's more of the gray icy. So we get to see a bunch of different ones. And then we just get to feel what it feels to have nothing but the sea around you. So the land is out of sight. So we get to look at that today. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because the question today is what overwhelms me? Okay, so what overwhelms me? A lot of the time, for a lot of different reasons, it's just uncertainty, whether it's because of like financial things, living situation, food, whatever it may be. Uncertainty isn't comfortable,
Right.
So today we're going to be thinking about what overwhelms me, as well as kind of as we see through these stories, the purpose, right? The purpose always outweighs the feeling of being overwhelmed, or it should,
Right.
And so we think about that today as well. So today we're going to just listen to flowing water. With this, a lot of the time you and I both like to reset by like a shower. Like, so when I'm not feeling good during the day and I feel like I need to wash it off,
Yeah.
I want to go sit in the shower, just let the water kind of run over you. I've noticed when you want to like meditate and do that same thing, you're really quiet because you're listening to the water as well as feeling it. I kind of always just felt it. So why listen? What's the benefit of listening to it as well?
I think it's just that I don't know. For me, it's got to be something with the vibration of it, with the way the sound hits, because it just helps me kind of go within. So, like, when I'm doing that, when I'm showering and I'm doing what you're talking about, like, I'm concentrating and actually meditating on releasing any energy that no longer serves me. And I'm actually doing energy work while I'm doing it. And I'm assuming you probably are doing the same thing. Uh, but so I'm concentrating on everything that I don't need it. Like all the self-doubts that you have about yourself. When you look at those and you actually say, oh yeah, I do have that. One, you take the power away. As soon as you do that, you're like, okay. So then I try to do stuff like that. And I actually try to think about stuff. So many times I can't think about anything in the moment, but that's fine because I'm just saying to myself that I don't need whatever it is that's making me feel this way. And then I just energetically feel it flowing down, but then I'll actually start to rub my body and just wipe my hair and just totally let the water. And I don't even necessarily use soap every time I do that. Sometimes I just go in to just simply just rinse off. Water is a reset. Now, there are some things like, unfortunately, if there's high chlorine in your water system, wherever you're at, or you don't have good, clean water for showering, I wouldn't say do that all the time. We live in a place where we have pretty decent water. Unfortunately, we do have chlorine, but it's not a bunch. It is very minimal. So we're blessed in that way. So that's just something that, I don't know, we both do. So.
Well, in many cultures, water's used as a reset. I mean,
Definitely.
even just down to like baptism.
I was
Whether
just
it's
thinking
in
that,
Christianity, I mean, there are many forms of baptism.
Right. Well, yeah.
That's just what kind of water is used for, right?
Yeah.
So
John the Baptist was doing it in the river, right? Or was it?
I believe it was a river.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think, I've seen some people do it in the ocean. It's just wherever their spirit takes them. It's more about like, the sensation, the feeling, the meaning, the symbolism.
Water is very powerful. I've seen so many things about water that I could probably go off on this huge tangent. I won't, but that could be a side podcast if somebody wants to let me know. Anyways, but things like vortexes and teleportation and all kinds of stuff, like with water, when it is frozen to thawed, it resets. And when you look at it at a cellular level,
yeah, you brought that up before.
Yeah,
the like
that
vibration within it.
It only knows, and it has got a program for life to grow. Like, you can test water at different stages of where it is and where it came from, and it's different every time. But you can always reset it by freezing it, like natural freezing it, I think, and then thawing it. I'm not sure how it works, like in the freezer.
Right.
The way you could do that is then speak into it. But that's a whole nother thing that you could talk about, speaking into it, and then the different science experiments that have been done that you can go look up, like the rice experiment. You can look these up on YouTube, I believe, and find the video, or anywhere online, I guess, that you would find your videos, and find stuff with water and just how important it is. It's epic. And then, not only is it that epic, but we're writing right now about the water.
Yeah, we're in the sea and the ocean and stuff. Well, I guess we're more in the ocean than anything. And I was kind of thinking that earlier I don't know the whole difference between the sea and the ocean.
The oceans connect and seas don't.
Interesting. So all the oceans are connected.
Yeah.
Are they all connected to the seas? No, they can't be then, because the seas aren't connected.
No, seas aren't connected.
Is that the only difference?
Yes. And here's a funny thing. Okay. So they say the tide is because the moon's gravitational pull and gravity, and because the water is so large that we have a tide, right? Okay. There's some seas that are bigger than some oceans that don't have a tide. Why?
What seas don't have tides?
All of them.
None of them do?
I don't think so. I think that's
But don't the lakes have tides?
No, they have wind.
But that's
or they have whatever comes in and out. Like if it's a river that feeds it, if something slows or
I'd have to look into that. I thought all
But
water did.
no, that is one of those things where when I first heard that, I was like, wait, what? I thought you knew that.
I'd have to look into that. Some other bodies do experience
A couple, but
they're less profound, but even rivers can. How would a river be able to have a tide? That doesn't make sense to me. It has a flow, but that's not a tide. Like the river
low
can't,
and high, low and high.
but the river can't have a tide
A
against the natural flow.
river of the ocean Possibly, but those are weird because they go, is it the rivers that are going in or the ones that are coming
They
out
can
too?
experience tides.
Experience probably because what, the ocean? I don't know. That's weird.
But anyways, today we're going to allow what feels vast to be acknowledged without attempting to reduce it.
Mm,
So we're going to kind of let the vastness be, you know?
yeah.
So it's kind of exciting because we are writing a book about it, and it like goes to show like we are going to be in the sea, in the ocean. So I didn't even think about the barrier feeling, the actual physical feeling of the transition.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to think about that too. Well, we both are, but I just like to think of the sea. I don't know. The last story today, we get to see Anansi. And the more stories I hear of Anansi, the more I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something we're going to use.
Anansi the spider. Yeah, for sure. I was actually thinking about the
Anansi the
West
spider
African
would
stuff.
be okay. Yeah.
Hmm. But it's
Well,
just
they're
the story. I just really like the focus of the ocean and the sea. They're there to push our curiosity because we will never have every answer,
right.
because you feel like when more questions are answered, more questions come up.
Yeah.
And it kind of just teaches you to keep your curiosity alive. That's all I have for today, though. That's all for June 9th to see. I hope you enjoyed these 4 stories. See you guys.
See you guys. Love you.
Mm. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to honor the cultures behind the stories we are about to explore. The tales shared here come from many peoples, lands, and traditions. I do not change these stories to fit modern expectations or to align with today's social standards. Instead, I present them as they were told, sometimes beautiful, sometimes harsh, sometimes challenging. We are not here to judge the past, but to understand it, to listen, to learn, and to honor the ancestors who carried these stories forward. We also share stories from various religious traditions. These are presented in their historical and spiritual context, with respect for their beliefs that they represent. Every culture deserves respect, context, and acknowledgement, and this space is dedicated to doing exactly that. Story 1: Odysseus in the Wine-Dark Sea. The sea stretched endlessly beneath a sky of shifting clouds, its waves rising and falling like the breath of some immense and ancient creature. To the Greeks, the sea was both pathway and mystery, a realm that connected distant lands while hiding dangers beyond mortal understanding. No hero knew this truth more deeply than Odysseus, king of Ithaca, whose long voyage home after the Trojan War carried him across waters filled with wonders, terrors, and uncertainties that tested every part of his character. When the walls of Troy finally fell, many warriors turned their thoughts towards home. They imagined familiar shores, welcoming families, and the comforts they had left behind years earlier. Odysseus desired these things as well, yet the sea had other plans. His ships departed from the coast of Asia Minor and entered the vast waters of the Aegean and beyond. But what should have been a straightforward journey soon became an odyssey in the truest sense. Storms scattered fleets. Strange islands appeared on distant horizons. Every stretch of open water seemed capable of concealing some new challenge waiting just beyond sight. The farther Odysseus traveled, the less certain the world became. One island offered hospitality only to reveal hidden dangers. Another concealed creatures whose habits and customs defied all expectations. Even the winds themselves seemed unpredictable, shifting without warning and driving ships far from their intended course. The sea possessed no roads, no walls, and no landmarks that remained fixed. A traveler could sail confidently beneath clear skies only to find themselves lost when darkness or storm arrived. Each morning brought new possibilities, but also new risks. Among the most difficult aspects of the voyage was not any single monster or storm. It was uncertainty itself. Odysseus could not see the end of his journey. He could not know how many hardships remained ahead. The vastness surrounding him swallowed certainty like the sea swallows rivers. Yet this very uncertainty forced him to develop qualities he might never have discovered otherwise. He learned patience when impatience offered no solution. He learned adaptability when old plans failed. Most importantly, he learned that courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to continue despite it. There were nights when the sea appeared almost peaceful. Moonlight turned the waves to silver, and the stars reflected upon the water as though heaven itself had descended into the depths. Yet even during those moments of beauty, the unknown remained. Beneath the surface lay mysteries beyond human sight. Beyond the horizon waited destinations not yet revealed. The sea taught a lesson recognized by travelers throughout history. Certainty is often an illusion. Wisdom comes not from controlling every outcome, but from learning how to navigate uncertainty with perseverance and faith. By the time Odysseus finally approached the shores of Ithaca, he was no longer the same man who had left Troy. The sea had challenged him, humbled him, and transformed him. Its vastness has stripped away assumptions and replaced them with understanding. In crossing those endless waters, he discovered that the greatest journeys are not only across oceans, but through the unknown spaces within ourselves. Story 2. Beowulf's Voyage Across the Whale Road. The Northern Sea was known by many names, but poets often called it the Whale Road. It stretched between kingdoms like a cold and restless wilderness, carrying traders, explorers, and warriors toward lands both familiar and unknown. Gray waves rolled beneath vast skies, and icy winds swept across the water with little regard for human plans. To cross such a sea required skill and courage, for the ocean could provide passage one day and destruction the next. It was upon this formidable expanse that the hero Beowulf embarked on a voyage that would become legendary. News had traveled across the sea that the Danish king, Hrothgar, faced a terrible problem. A monstrous being named Grendel haunted his great hall of Heorot, attacking warriors and spreading fear throughout the kingdom. Many had attempted to resist the creature, but none had succeeded. When word reached the Geats, Beowulf resolved to help. Gathering a company of trusted companions, he prepared to leave the safety of his homeland and cross the sea toward a challenge whose outcome no one could predict. Their ship cut through cold waters beneath skies that changed constantly. One day, sunlight glimmered across the calm waves. The next brought dark clouds and rough seas. The sailors worked together to guide the vessel through shifting conditions, reading wind and water with practiced eyes. Around them stretched an immense emptiness. The coastline soon disappeared behind them, swallowed by distance and mist. Ahead lay only horizon and uncertainty. Every traveler upon the Whale Road understood the same reality. Once the shore vanished from sight, there was no certainty except the sea itself. As the voyage continued, Beowulf spent long hours gazing across the water. The challenge awaiting him in Denmark occupied his thoughts, yet the sea presented its own lesson. Human beings prefer clear answers and predictable outcomes. The ocean offered neither. It revealed how small even the strongest warrior could be when surrounded by forces beyond their control. Waves, weather, and distance carried nothing for reputation or ambition. To travel successfully required humility as well as bravery. Eventually, the coast of Denmark emerged from the horizon, its cliffs appearing first as faint shadows across the sky. Relief spread among the crew, yet Beowulf understood that reaching shore was only the beginning. The true trial still awaited. The sea had carried him across the boundary, separating the known from the unknown. The comforts of home lay far behind. Ahead stood a destiny that would test his strength, courage, and character. The voyage across the Whale Road became more than a journey between kingdoms. It became a passage into uncertainty itself. By choosing to cross it, Beowulf accepted that growth often requires leaving familiar waters behind. The sea's vastness reminded him that no hero can fully know what lies ahead. Yet those willing to face the unknown may discover strengths hidden even from themselves. In that way, the ocean became both obstacle and teacher, preparing him for the challenges awaiting beyond the shore. Story 3. Momotarō, an island beyond the waves. The inland sea shimmered beneath the morning sun, its countless islands rising from the water like green jewels scattered across a sheet of blue silk. Fishing boats drifted near rocky coves, seabirds wheeled overhead, and distant mountains faded into the haze of the horizon. In a quiet village lived a young hero known as Momotarō, the Peach Boy, whose extraordinary birth and remarkable courage had already become known throughout the surrounding countryside. Yet the adventure for which he would be remembered most had not yet begun. For many years, stories had spread among the villages of a distant island hidden somewhere beyond the sea. The place was said to be the stronghold of fierce Amani, powerful beings who raided coastline communities, carrying away treasures and leaving suffering behind. Sailors spoke of dark cliffs rising from the ocean and strange lights flickering along the shoreline at night. Some dismissed the tales as exaggerations born from storms and imagination. Others believed them completely. Whatever the truth, few were willing to venture far enough from land to discover it for themselves. When Momotarō heard of the suffering caused by the Oni, he resolved to act. His elderly parents watched as he prepared for the voyage, packing provisions and receiving blessings for the road ahead. The familiar hills of home surrounded him, and the life he knew lay safely within the village. Yet beyond the sea waited uncertainty. The stories might be true, they might be false. The dangers might be far greater than anyone imagined. Nevertheless, some journeys begin not because success is guaranteed, but because remaining behind is no longer acceptable. As his small vessel moved farther from shore, the world began to change. The village disappeared first, followed by the distant mountains and familiar landmarks that had guided him throughout his life. Soon, nothing remained but open water stretching in every direction. Waves rose and fell beneath the boat, while clouds drifted across an immense sky untouched by human boundaries. The farther Momotarō traveled, the more he felt the weight of the unknown surrounding him. There were no roads upon the sea, no signposts pointing toward his destination. Every mile carried him deeper into the world governed by uncertainty. Along the journey, he gained loyal companions, each joining him through acts of kindness and mutual respect. Together, they crossed waters that seemed endless, facing challenged weather, difficult conditions, and a constant awareness that home lay far, far behind them. The sea became more than a barrier separating one place from another. It became a test of conviction. Every wave asked whether the travelers truly intended to continue. At last, dark shapes appeared upon the horizon. Jagged cliffs rose from the sea, and the distant outline of the Ani's island emerged from the mist. Standing at the bow of the vessel, Momotarō understood that the true challenge had begun long before reaching his destination. The moment he left the safety of the known world, he crossed a threshold from which there was no easy return. The sea had taught him that courage is not simply confronting monsters. It is willingly stepping into uncertainty and continuing forward, even when the outcome remains hidden beyond the horizon. Story 4. Anansi crosses the great waters. The forests of West Africa were alive with movement and sound. Sunlight filtered through broad leaves high above the earth, while rivers wound their way toward distant shores and unseen horizons. In these lands, stories of Anansi the spider traveled from village to village, carried by storytellers whose words transformed ordinary evenings into journeys filled with wisdom, humor, and adventure. Anansi was many things at once: clever, troublesome, ambitious, and endlessly curious. Again and again, his stories explored what happened when someone encounters a world far larger than they expected. One tale tells of Anansi becoming fascinated by the mysteries that lay beyond the familiar coastline. He had heard travelers speak of vast waters stretching farther than any eye could see. Merchants returned with stories of distant peoples, strange lands, and wonders hidden beyond the horizon. Such tales stirred Anansi's imagination. The forest, once filled with the endless possibilities, suddenly seemed smaller than before. He became determined to discover what existed beyond the edge of the known world. When he finally reached the coast, Anansi stood in astonishment. Before him stretched an expanse so immense that it appeared to merge with the sky itself. The sea moved with a rhythm unlike any he had ever known. Waves rolled endlessly toward the shore, only to retreat and return again. The sheer scale of it overwhelmed him. In the forest, every path eventually led somewhere familiar. The ocean offered no such reassurance. It concealed its secrets beneath shifting waters and distant horizons. Driven by curiosity, Anansi joined travelers preparing to cross the sea. As their vessel moved away from land, he watched the shoreline shrink until it became the faint line against the horizon. The farther they traveled, the more insignificant certainty seemed. Weather changed without warning. Calm waters transformed into rough swells. Clouds gathered and vanished. The sea refused to behave according to expectations. It could not be tricked, negotiated with, or easily understood. For perhaps the first time in his many adventures, Anansi found himself in a situation where cleverness alone offered no immediate solution. The ocean demanded humility. It required patience and respect. Every day upon the water revealed how much larger the world truly was. The stories he had heard back home had not exaggerated its vastness. If anything, they had failed to capture it fully. When distant shores finally appeared, Anansi stepped into unfamiliar land with a different understanding than the one he carried when he departed. The journey had expanded his view of the world and of himself. The sea had swallowed certainty and replaced it with perspective. Beyond every horizon lay another horizon, beyond another answer, another question. Yet rather than discouraging him, this realization filled him with wonder. The greatest lesson of the voyage was not what Anansi discovered across the water. It was the understanding that wisdom begins when we acknowledge how much remains unknown. Standing upon a distant shore and gazing back across the vast ocean he had crossed, Anansi recognized that some mysteries are not meant to be conquered. They are meant to inspire us to keep exploring. Daily thread for June 9th, the sea. The sea has always been more than water. In every culture that gazes beyond the shoreline, it becomes a symbol of the unknown itself, vast enough to humble certainty and deep enough to conceal mysteries beyond imagination. Odysseus crossed waters filled with storms, strange islands, and unseen dangers, discovering that wisdom often begins where control ends. Beowulf sailed the whale road toward a destiny he could not fully understand, trusting courage more than guarantees. Momotarō left the safety of the familiar shores to seek an island spoken of only in stories, while Anansi ventured beyond the horizon and found a world far larger than the one he thought he knew. Though their journeys unfolded beneath different skies and crossed different seas, each traveler encountered the same truth. The unknown cannot be mastered before it is entered. There will always be depths we cannot measure, horizons we cannot see beyond, and questions that refuse immediate answers. Yet the sea teaches that uncertainty is not an enemy, it is an invitation. Every wave carries the possibility of discovery. Every distant horizon reminds us that the world is larger than our fears and wider than our assumptions. The traveler who stands at the shoreline may feel overwhelmed by what lies ahead, but the one who steps into the boat discovers that wonder often waits in the very places where certainty disappears. The sea does not promise safety, clarity, or easy answers. Instead, it offers something far more valuable, the chance to become larger than the limits we once believed defined us, carried forward by courage into waters where possibility stretches farther than sight itself can reach.